The Have-Nots is an institution here in Charleston. The Improv Comedy Company has been around since 1995. Today, I talk one-on-one with Brandy Sullivan and Greg Tavares of the Have-Nots for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Brandy Sullivan and Greg Tavares, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin.
It's so great to have you all here. Obviously, you all need no introduction here in the Low Country because, as you know, many people know you all are with the Have-Nots, which is the improv comedy company that's been around since 1995.
Yeah. So wild.
Yes.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
Yes, indeed. In fact, it's the longest running show in Charleston. And with 18 years and over 1,400 shows together, the Have-Nots, founders of Theater 99, obviously, are ready for audience suggestions. No scripts, all improv. And obviously people come to see what you all are talking about. So what are you all talking about today when it comes to the Have-Nots?
Wow. That is such a giant topic, wouldn't you say, Brandy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The Have-Nots is the 3-person group that Theater 99 was built on. It started. And now Theater 99 is what we do and what we love, and it's a whole bunch of us. You've met with Timmy,
yes,
Finch, our third Have-Not partner, who's
yes,
amazing, and we built the theater together, the three of us, and with the help of friends, and from there we now do Theater 99 all the time, right, Greg?
You know what I think is crazy, Brandy, is it started out for years. We talk about this all the time. It started out with just me, Brandy, and Timmy for years being the only people that did improv in town. And it was like we were lonely for other people that would do improv. Mm. And for 5 years-ish, 5 or 6 years, it was just us.
6, yeah.
And then since 2001, 2002, there's been this giant growth of people that do improv with us. And that's a very joyful, we're not lonely anymore, I guess the best way to put it. The opposite of lonely. Right. Now we have a giant family of improvisers, both that live here and do work with us and have gone to all over the country. And so that it is really a lot of love, it feels wonderful to have been able to be a part of this growth of the art form in Charleston.
What is that art form right now?
Right now, it's become like improv forever was just considered a building block of theater proper. But what it's become is its own art form in itself. It's still used in scripted theater, but since the mid-90s, it really has exploded into its own thing. So,
and where did that growth come from? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to build off what Brandy said, is that like when we started, there were half a dozen improv theaters in the country, like Second City, Improv Olympic, the Groundlings.
UCB started around the same time.
Yeah. So that these places where, all these famous people have come through, Saturday Night Live cast from Bill Murray back in the day, in the 70s at Second City, all the way through like Amy Poehler and Will Ferrell to this day.
Stephen Colbert,
local guy, Second City.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the past 10 years, there's been this explosion of small, even though we're like 21 years old at Theater 89, in the past decade, maybe 100, I don't know, I haven't kept track, maybe 150 improv theaters have opened all over the United States. And a couple of our former company members, actually current, no one ever leaves the company once you're part of Theater 89, but a couple of people have gone on and opened improv theaters in other cities that used to start with us. Yeah. So it's really spreading across the country in lots of smaller towns now.
And it was interesting, Quintin, because you asked about the growth, where did it come from? In the 90s, when Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yes. When the Drew Carey American version with Wayne Brady and everybody, that was a big boom for improv because everybody always called it improve instead. So we got people to drop the E. and
sometimes it still happens.
Sometimes autocorrect.
Right.
but that is definitely something that helped get it into the mainstream, so that people were familiar with it and realized, like, I'd like to go see that live. So that definitely got people interested in wanting to learn how to do it as well. So
That's probably, I tell you what, that's the thing that is the most, I think, sustains me over time. You know, Brandy and I met in college. We met in even before college. We've been doing work together since the mid '80s. You know,
Wait,
and so yeah, like I guess '90. I guess when did we do Cowboy Mouth? '90.
91 was
91.
Yeah.
91. That's how many? That's 31 years.
30.
30. Yeah, 30 years. Wow, 30 years, Brandy. That's a long time to do work with somebody. 150 years, basically, we've been doing work.
Yes.
But what sustains me is the fact that anybody who wants to learn about doing improvisation can take an improv class in almost any city in the country, and within 6 weeks, they're doing a show on stage with other improvisers. The ramp from being introduced to performing in improv is one of the shortest ramps in all of arts. You know, if I took a piano class for 6 weeks, I'm not going to have a public performance 6 weeks later.
No.
Or visual art or singing.
Right.
6 weeks later, bang, you're on stage doing an improv comedy show. That's pretty amazing, and we do it all the time. And new people coming into our improv family all the time at Theater 99.
Wow, that's just amazing. How did the mainstream accept improv?
Really well. I think it was one of those things, like once you see it, you're like, oh, I mean, of course it's not for everybody, but it is a very mainstream accessible art form, because people love to laugh, you know, they love and they like fun stuff. And I think they responded to it really well. It's just taken time for people to get into theaters to see it and see it done well, to realize, oh, this is a great thing I want to do regularly. Put this on my entertainment schedule. Like, go to the movies. We go bowling.
Right.
We do XYZ. We go out to dinner. Now let's put improv on the list. When people come in town, you know, that's a fun thing to do, you know?
Yes, absolutely. How do you all do well?
I think how do we do well on stage and in getting people to come to the theater is, Brandy uses the word consistency quite a bit. That's important to us, is that people give us their time and their money to come to the theater. We need to give them 2 hours of fun. People come to Theater 99 to forget about their problems for a minute. You know what I mean? They want to escape the stresses of life. They want to be entertained. They want to laugh. They want to feel that joy of being in the room with a bunch of people, and that's weird now with pandemic, and just let go of their stresses for a minute. And that's how we succeed. We deliver on that promise 3 or 4 nights a week. We give them more than their money's worth. We give them more than their time's worth, and they leave happy. They got to laugh for a little while. That's how we do well.
And that's the goal. That's the goal, is like to give a consistently high quality product, do the best we can. And so we're always trying to live up to that standard while taking risk at the same time, so that we can grow during this long life of Theater 99. And we do that through the work we do and the people we meet in our company, the audience members we meet. It's a constantly evolving thing based in consistency and holding ourselves accountable to high standards.
What are those high standards?
Oh, wow.
Well, improvisation has a whole philosophy and an approach, of basically, it is not solo work. It's not a person on a microphone telling jokes they've told many times before. You don't know what your content is. You don't know what you're going to be talking about. You don't know what you're going to be doing on stage. And the way that works is through collaboration. And so the pure collaboration of every single night on stage at Theater 89 is what's amazing, is that if Brandy and I are going to do a show, we're going to have to absolutely be in the moment and listen to each other line by line. and create something worth watching off out of thin air, basically. And that the only way that succeeds is if I'm making everything about her when she's talking and doing stuff on stage, and she's making everything about me. That's how you succeed at doing improvisation. You make it about your partner.
Right. And yeah, you want to be the best scene partner you can be. And also speaking to the overall Theater 99 of that consistency and that high standard is we want people to have a good time as soon as they walk in the door. And our front of house, that's your first impression of Theater 99 is right when you walk in the door. We want people to be, greeted and made to feel welcome, and then go grab a drink, have a seat, and just know that you're being taken care of, but you're also in a very unique environment. This is not going to you can't really compare it to anything because it is unique. It's just like a lot of other places where you go and you're like, yeah, this is the only one of these in the world. So we take pride in that, and also being a part of Charleston, being something that has grown with Charleston. As you know, like we started in bars and over the years it's grown into this company, kind of like Charleston has grown into this huge cosmopolitan area, So they come to Theater 99 and they think, we actually heard the quote one time, our box office manager, when someone bought their ticket, because you have to enter from the back of the building and up the stairs, and it used to be a lot darker out there. There was no light. And they walked past them and they're like, wow, I feel like I'm in the underbelly of the city. Yeah, that's a classic. Every time. Welcome to the underbelly of the city.
How do you view Charleston from a comedic standpoint these days?
Wow, there's a lot of common things that people like to laugh about, whether it's traffic, the beauty, the history. There is an element of people who, folks love to say stuff about Ohio, which I'm a fan of Ohio. Right, Greg?
No comment.
So, there are a lot of things we have in common, all of us who live here in the Low Country.
And also, our audiences are definitely from within 30 miles of downtown Charleston. A lot of people in the North area come to Theater 89. A lot of people from James Island, Johns Island, West Ashley.
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, not as much, Brandy. Remember, we always have them applaud for Mount Pleasant. Like if we get some on stage, and we say, hey, where are you from? And they say, James Island. And we basically go, give it up for James Island. People that are from James Island clap the loudest, right? If we get Mount Pleasant on stage, we're like, give it up for Mount P, and like 3 people are applauding. Like, that to me means like Mount P ain't coming to theater.
Well, I think it means the audience doesn't like Mount Pleasant.
But if they're from Mount Pleasant, they do. That's what I'm saying. If you live in Mount Pleasant, you like where you live. You know what I mean?
We could basically go up 26, all the way up to Monk's Corner. That's where you see the majority, and James Island. So downtown would probably be our
least represented
in terms of residents.
Well, what I wanted to say was, if you're watching this and you're from Mount Pleasant, come to Theater 99. We love you. Yes, I live in Mount Pleasant. That's Mount Pleasant. Right out there, that's Mount Pleasant.
I'm in Mount Pleasant.
I know, that's true.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Speaking of which, let's talk about chemistry. You all said this. We have a really unique chemistry that's always worked. We always been on the same page as far as loving it and loving us as a group. And we love each other. It's like family now more than friends. It's like a little family, says Sullivan. Was it just friends in the beginning when you started at the Have-Nots in Theater 99?
It was like Greg and I have been friends for a long time, like he was saying earlier, from college. And we were at a point in 95, but early 96, we needed a 4th person because Brian Mahanes, another local who does Other Brother Entertainment in town now, he was an original member of the Have-Nots, and we needed a 4th because Greg had booked some shows up in Greenville at Coffee Underground, and we needed a 4th. And so he saw Timmy Finch making people laugh, telling stories at Vickery's downtown when it used to be downtown, right, and invited him to meet us to see if it was a fit, and it fit immediately. Like it was like click. Okay, here we go. There was no real discussion about it, was it, Greg?
So it was like a roll in the dice and them coming up, whatever number wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that was the beginning of our like
Chemistry.
the chemistry of the group is all you really. Chemistry is so important in improvisation because you don't have material. You know what I mean? You don't have songs. You don't have jokes. You don't have the story. You only have your talent and your chemistry. You know, and that's something that we had. We had talent and chemistry, and those early shows were crazy, off the hook, raucous experiences. We don't even play that way anymore. Rock, like Foo Fighter years, like we were just always jumping off of things. I'm a little bit more verbal and a little bit less physical these days.
Less falling down on stage.
Way less falling down. Way less falling down.
By design.
By design. And when you play with Timmy, less Timmy tackling you on stage. Timmy broke one of my ribs. He cracked one of my ribs. Broke? No, cracked.
No, he didn't. Yeah, maybe he cracked.
Definitely cracked a rib one time on stage. He knows he did. I had to go to the doctor. I did a whole 9 yards.
But you couldn't hear the squeals of pain because of the laughter from the audience.
Oh, yeah. But you could feel the pain every time you breathed for 6 weeks.
For 6 weeks.
Yeah, for 6 weeks. Timmy used to not do stage combat. He would just pick you up and throw you around. And which was, it had its risks, basically.
And climbing the walls. It was hilarious.
Hilarious. Well, I'm gonna have to stay away from him when I see him around here because
yeah,
he does penny casts these days, so I see him a lot.
I think you'll be fine.
Yes. You'll be fine. He does less picking up of people these days. Way less.
That's really, really good. How do you look good if you make your partner look good on stage?
Oh wow! Because you're not up there alone. When you're not up there alone ever, really, you're all, even if you're doing a solo scene, there's someone that's going to be joining you at some point. You make by both of you doing well, you look good. You're not going to look good you're not going to look good if you're just doing it to make yourself look good. If you're not trying to do we instead of I, it's not going to be as good. That's my theory, and what I've seen happen too. Because you see sometimes people go out and try to make it about themselves instead of the collaboration on stage, and it's like, God, that was funny. Could have been funnier.
Yeah. I mean, I use a sports metaphor of like you have to pass the ball to score, right? And so like passing's not scoring, but if everyone's up there, if you shoot the ball every time you get the ball, you're going to lose the game. Okay, you have to pass to the other person, set them up. And that's what it feels like to me. Like sometimes the other person, you set them up to get the laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes they set you up to get the laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, obviously, you toured in bars, renting theaters, touring colleges. Which one of those ventures best describes the Have-Nots?
Wow. Gosh,
it's like we've had different acts or chapters.
That's what I was going to say too. Those bars, colleges, Theater 99 are the timeline, with a peppered in throughout the timeline of private shows at very interesting places. We've done over 80 locations in the Tri-County area, and that grows every year. But I would say, like you were saying, Greg, it's definitely part of a chapter or a timeline.
Yeah. So, like for me, it's the now is the chapter that is most important. The now is always most important because it's what you're doing now, and the now for the Have-Nots is basically in me and Brandy's life, maintaining the health of our company. Like it really, for me, it's not even about the three of us anymore. It's about nurturing 50 people instead of 3 people,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And the longevity of the Have-Nots is something that we're all very proud of. Like the fact that we still do a show every month. And it's us with or without some guest friends. And but yeah, the evolution of that timeline also turned into being company managers, artistic directors for a bunch of people. You're right.
how did you grow in the era of social media?
I wish we were better at it, Quintin. But you can't. It's definitely been able. We've been able to get a reach, and a collaboration with people. It was definitely during COVID, during 2020, it saved us because we were able to stream our shows live on stage. We didn't do Zoom performances. We waited until we were comfortable being on stage with like 10 people in the audience, and Facebook and Instagram, like streaming those shows, and YouTube, started a YouTube channel. Definitely kept us alive as a business and as an artistic place.
I had actually quit social media before pandemic, like all the way to quit.
Right.
But then when pandemic came, we all went stir crazy in our homes. So it became a tool that I ended up using again. And actually, I've taught improv classes on Zoom to people all over the world. Hungary, Poland, the Philippines, Germany, UK, Ireland, all over the United States. People have taken improv classes with me because I just went to the Facebook International Improv Player community and said, I want to give away free classes. Come take classes with me. And I've worked with dozens and dozens of people over pandemic, which was really it helped keep my mental health going.
And obviously, that's a big topic right now since COVID. How does improv meet mental health?
Oh, wow. It's great for my mental health personally. I could say that. Gosh, what a great question. What a great question. Why don't you start, Greg, and I'll fly in.
I think for me, in the way the correlation I would make to mental health is the health benefits you get from playing, right? Like playing. Like, I don't care if you play tennis or go surfing or play on a soccer league. Playing is a very healing act. It nurtures us. We have to work. We have to take our responsibilities. We have to raise our kids or whatever. We have to keep our house going. But playing is just for us. It tickles that part of our imagination and that sense of self. So for me, the mental health benefit of improvisation is the mental health of getting to play.
And I'd say, like, particularly during the pandemic, being able to see people in person, like our fellow company members who were able to, people came and went based on what was going on in their life with COVID, but being with people and actually doing improv with them on stage was amazing, because for me personally, when I do improv, I'm not thinking about anything else. Anything that was going on in the lobby or any questions or troubleshooting we have to do before a show, that's all over. Because once you're on stage, there's something very awesome about just focusing on what you're doing being in the moment.
Wow.
And that's awesome.
What is that moment now, and what will that moment be in the next 5 years for the Have-Nots?
Oh, wow. Have not still be doing shows. and Theater 99 will still be going and growing, we hope. There's definitely an ebb and flow, a very happy and sometimes bittersweet ebb and flow of company members who, like Greg said earlier, they maybe move away or they step away because of a life change or something like that, but they're always part of the company, so.
For me, I think the longer term view of Have-Nots and then Have-Nots and Theater 9 are almost, in a way, hard to separate in my brain. It's all kind of like my life as an improviser. I really hope that the Have-Nots brought improvisation. Like, they were the first kind of group that from Charleston doing improv in Charleston. Before us, people would be groups from other places would come and do shows during like Piccolo or Splay or something like that. So there was improv here, but not from people from here.
Right.
My hope is that if you look back in 50 years and 30 years, that we began growing this community that remains after we leave this planet. Like I'm in a legacy phase, if you will, as I view I guess maybe a quarter of a century. It was like 25 years doing improv with Brandy last year. That was a big kind of milestone. And so that makes you look, okay, what about the next 25 years? I just hope that the roots, that the organism is healthy enough to exist, and that that improv is a part of Charleston's identity, and that regardless of what the have-nots are doing because of time passing, that improv still lives here. It's a healthy ecosystem for people to do it.
Yeah, it's something we're real proud of. That we like you said, it's a part of Charleston, in the Charleston area. Like we've always said, like it was a patch of the quilt that didn't exist, and we want to be an important patch on the quilt that is everything that the Low Country has to offer, and we want to be an important part of that.
Absolutely. What does the have-nots mean to you?
Oh, happiness. Gosh.
If I had to put it into an experience, I'd say the have-nots mean to me is that it means walking into someone's hotel room because they're trying to play a prank on you, and then Timmy spraying me with beer and Brandy laughing at me when it happens. That's what the have-nots mean to me. Some shenanigans between three adults.
Yeah. And when I think about have-nots, yeah, I think of that. That's hilarious. There's so many of those memories, which are awesome. But I feel like it. When I think of have-nots, it's the thing that helped me realize who I am and what track I'm supposed to go on, and where that track leads, we'll see. But it introduced me to what I feel like I was supposed to do, and also, we all are married to the people. Greg and Timmy's wives, they met during this process. I met my husband, and I think of that as well. Like it just kind of really opened up adulthood.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we thank you all for your public service to the Charleston area for so many years. We really do appreciate the laughters and just taking a lot of stress off of us. So you all are an institution here, so we thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Quintin. You know what? You need to get up on stage with us. Would you be like a guest interview?
That's fine.
That'd be awesome.
That's hey, I'm all for it. Let me know when. Sure. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I can't wait to ask you the same questions you just asked us.
Yes. Well, at least you can dig off the top of your head. I'm going off.
What does Quintin Washington mean to you?
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Brandy Sullivan and Greg Tavares, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks, Quintin.
Thank
See you soon.
Yes, ma'am.